One day, very quietly, without any warning, you will realize something that changes everything. Pause. You were never losing people. You were losing yourself, trying to keep them. And that is why nothing in your life ever felt stable. That is why you kept overthinking every small change, every silence, every distance. Because deep down, you believed if you don't hold on, if you don't adjust, if you don't give more, you will lose everything. Pause. So you stayed longer than your peace could handle. You gave more than your heart could carry. You ignored what you felt, just to keep what you had. And slowly, without even noticing, you disappeared from your own life. Pause. But here is the truth. Most people realize too late. The moment you choose yourself, you don't lose people. You lose what was never aligned with you. And for the first time, you finally return to yourself. You were trained to abandon yourself and call it love. From the very beginning, before you even had the words to explain how you felt, you were already learning a pattern, not through lessons, but through reactions. You were shaped by what was rewarded around you, by the smiles you received when you stayed quiet, by the approval you felt when you made things easier for others, by the subtle distance you sensed when you tried to express too much of yourself. Pause. You were praised for being easy, for being understanding, for being the one who never made things complicated, the one who adjusted, the one who forgave quickly, the one who didn't ask for too much. And without realizing it, you started connecting your worth to how comfortable you made others feel. You learned that being liked meant being agreeable, that being accepted meant staying quiet about your needs, that being loved meant putting others first, even when it hurt you. Not once, but repeatedly, until it stopped feeling like something you were doing and started feeling like who you are. Pause. You didn't wake up one day and decide to abandon yourself. You were slowly guided there, in small moments, when your feelings were dismissed. So you learned to hide them. When your boundaries were ignored, so you learned not to set them. When your truth created discomfort, so you learned to silence it. And each time, you adjusted just a little more, until your natural instincts were replaced with learned behavior. You began to believe that love requires sacrifice, that closeness requires self-denial, that keeping people in your life requires you to slowly disappear piece by piece. So you gave more, even when you had nothing left to give. You adjusted more, even when it didn't feel right anymore. You tolerated more, even when it started to break you inside. Because somewhere deep within you, you carried a quiet fear. If you stop doing this, will they still stay? Pause. And that question became the reason you kept abandoning yourself. Not because you wanted to, but because you believed you had to. You ignored your exhaustion. You ignored your frustration. You ignored that quiet voice inside you, whispering that something is not right. And, over time, that voice became harder to hear, because you replaced it with the need to be accepted. You called it love. But look closely. Love was never meant to feel like constant anxiety. Love was never meant to feel like walking on invisible edges. Love was never meant to require you to betray yourself just to keep it. What you were taught was not love. It was survival, disguised as connection. A pattern where your safety came from pleasing others. A pattern where your value came from how much you could endure. A pattern where losing yourself felt normal. And the most dangerous part is, you didn't question it, because everyone around you seemed to live the same way. Pause. But the moment you slow down and truly see this pattern for what it is, something inside you begins to wake up. You start to notice the moments you say yes when you mean no, You start to feel the exhaustion you once ignored. You start to recognize the quiet emptiness behind your constant giving. And for the first time, you begin to question everything you once accepted as normal. You begin to see that what you called love was actually a slow, silent disconnection from yourself. And this awareness, this uncomfortable, undeniable awareness, is where everything begins to change, because you cannot unsee it. And once you see it, you can no longer continue the same way you used to. Every time you chose them, you quietly lost yourself. It didn't happen in one moment. It happened in patterns you repeated so often. They started to feel normal. You didn't wake up one day and decide to lose yourself. You lost yourself in pieces. Small ones, almost invisible ones. Pause. It was in the moment you said it's okay, when it wasn't. It was in the moment you smiled, when something inside you felt heavy. It was in the moment you stayed silent, even though your truth was rising inside your chest. And each time, you made a quiet trade, their comfort over your honesty, their presence over your peace, their approval over your authenticity. At first, it felt harmless, just one compromise, just one adjustment, just one moment of being understanding. But it didn't stay one, because once you teach yourself that your needs can wait, they always will. Pause. You started becoming the person who always adapts, the person who always gives, the person who always finds a way to make things work, even when nothing inside you feels right. And people got used to it. They got used to you saying yes. They got used to you showing up no matter what. They got used to you being available, even when you were breaking inside. But what they got used to came at a cost. Your clarity began to fade. You stopped asking yourself what you truly want, because you were too focused on what others needed. You stopped listening to your intuition, because every time it spoke, you overrode it. You stopped trusting your feelings, because you kept convincing yourself they didn't matter enough. And, slowly, something deeper started to shift. You became disconnected from yourself. Pause. Not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, gradual way, where you no longer recognized your own voice. You second-guessed your decisions. You questioned your worth. You felt unsure, even about things that once felt clear, because every time your inner voice tried to guide you, you chose them instead. And here is the part most people don't realize. It's not the other person who takes your power away. It's the moment you stop standing with yourself. Every time you chose them over your truth, you taught yourself that your truth is negotiable. Every time you chose them over your boundaries, you taught yourself that your limits don't matter. Every time you chose them over your peace, you taught yourself that your peace is optional, and nothing breaks you faster than living a life where you are always optional to yourself. Pause. You start feeling tired, but you don't know why. You start feeling empty, even when you are surrounded by people. You start feeling disconnected, even from your own life, because you are there physically, but internally you are missing. And the painful truth is, you didn't lose yourself all at once. You left yourself again and again and again, until one day you look at your life and realize you have been present for everyone else, but absent from yourself. And that realization, it doesn't come with noise. It comes in silence, a quiet awareness that something inside you has been ignored for far too long. But here is where the shift begins. The moment you see this clearly, you also see something else. If you had the power to leave yourself, you have the power to return. Pause. And that return doesn't happen by choosing them again. It begins the first time you finally choose yourself and don't look back. The world mirrors you. Your value is set by you alone. There is a truth that feels uncomfortable at first, but once you truly understand it, everything in your life begins to make sense. The world does not decide your value. It reflects it. Pause. Not based on what you say about yourself, not based on what you hope for, but based on what you consistently accept. Look at your life closely. The way people speak to you, the way they treat your time, the way they respond to your presence. None of it is random. It is a mirror, a quiet, honest reflection of how you have been treating yourself all along. If you ignore your own boundaries, others will cross them without hesitation. If you allow yourself to be an option, you will be treated like one. If you keep lowering your standards, life will keep meeting you at that lower level. Not because people are always cruel, but because human behavior follows patterns. And the strongest pattern is this: people respond to the version of you that you present, again and again, without change. Pause. If you keep showing up as someone who tolerates everything, the world will keep giving you more to tolerate. If you keep showing up as someone who overgives, the world will keep taking. If you keep showing up as someone who doubts their worth, the world will keep reflecting that doubt back to you in different forms. This is not punishment, it is alignment. Your outer world aligning with your inner belief. And this is where most people get stuck. They try to change others. They try to demand respect. They try to explain their value. They try to convince people to see them differently. But nothing changes, because the reflection doesn't shift until the source shifts. Pause. The moment you start valuing yourself, not loudly, not forcefully, but genuinely, everything begins to respond. You begin to respect your own time, so you stop giving it away carelessly. You begin to protect your energy, so you stop entertaining what drains you. You begin to honor your presence, so you stop staying where you feel unseen. And without even trying, your entire standard changes. You no longer accept what once felt normal. You no longer chase what once felt important. You no longer beg for what you used to overgive, because something inside you becomes clear. You are not here to be tolerated. You are not here to be an option. You are not here to shrink yourself just to fit into someone else's comfort. Pause. And when that clarity becomes your foundation, the world has no choice but to adjust. Some people will rise because they can meet you at your new level. Some people will fall away because they were only aligned with the version of you that accepted less. And that loss may feel uncomfortable, but it is necessary, because what leaves was never aligned with your true value. And what stays is finally aligned with who you are becoming. This is why your value must come from you, not from attention, not from validation, not from how others choose to see you, because anything that comes from outside can be taken away. But when your value is set from within, it becomes unshakable. Pause. You no longer depend on approval. You no longer chase recognition. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself. You simply know, and that knowing changes how you walk, how you speak, how you decide. It changes what you allow. It changes what you attract. It changes what you walk away from without hesitation. Because now, you are no longer asking the world to tell you what you are worth. You have already decided. And once you decide, the world begins to mirror that decision back to you, quietly, consistently, powerfully, not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because you are no longer living in contradiction with yourself. You are aligned. And when you are aligned, everything that enters your life must meet you at that level, or it simply cannot stay. Letting go isn't loss. It's your life, realigning without illusions. Letting go feels like losing, because you are not just releasing something in your hands, you are releasing something in your heart. Pause. It's not just a person, it's not just a situation, it's not just a chapter of your life. It is the meaning you gave it, the hope you attached to it, the future you quietly built around it. And that is why it feels so heavy. Because when you try to let go, you are not only walking away from what is real, you are walking away from what you believed it could become. Pause. You remember the moments that felt right. You remember the words that gave you hope. You remember the version of things that made you stay longer than you should have. And your mind begins to whisper, what if it could still work? What if you just try a little more? What if letting go is a mistake? But look deeper, without emotion for a moment. Were you truly at peace? Were you truly respected? Were you truly aligned with what you were receiving? Or were you constantly adjusting just to keep it alive? Because many times we are not holding on to what is real. We are holding onto a story built on potential, a story built on promises, a story built on the version of someone that only existed in moments, not in consistency. Pause. And the hardest truth to accept is this: potential is not reality. What something could be is not the same as what it is. And staying attached to potential keeps you trapped in illusion. You wait, you hope, you invest more of yourself, thinking one day it will finally become what you imagined. But while you are waiting, you are slowly losing something far more important: your time, your energy, your connection to yourself. Letting go feels like loss, because you think you are giving something up. But in truth, you are clearing what was never fully real to begin with. Pause. You are removing the illusion that kept you holding on. You are releasing the attachment that kept you stuck. You are stepping out of a version of life that required you to ignore your own truth. And yes, it hurts, because your heart doesn't release as quickly as your mind understands. There is a gap between knowing something is not right and having the strength to walk away from it. And inside that gap, you feel everything: the sadness, the confusion, the emptiness. But that emptiness is not a sign that you lost something meaningful. It is space. Space that has been missing in your life for a long time. Space where your energy is no longer tied to something that drains you. Space where your mind is no longer stuck in endless questioning. Space where your heart can finally begin to heal without interference. Pause. Because as long as you keep holding on, you leave no room for anything new to enter. You remain connected to something that is not aligned, and that connection blocks everything that is. Letting go is not about losing. It is about realignment. It is about your life quietly correcting itself. Once you stop forcing what doesn't belong, it is about trusting that what is truly meant for you will not require confusion to stay, will not require pain to continue, will not require you to abandon yourself to keep it. Pause. And this is where most people hesitate, because letting go means stepping into the unknown. No guarantees, no clear outcome, no immediate replacement, just space. But that space is where truth begins. It is where you reconnect with yourself without distraction. It is where you start to see clearly without the fog of attachment. It is where you begin to understand what you actually need instead of what you were trying to fix. And slowly, something shifts. Your clarity returns. Your energy returns. Your sense of self begins to rebuild, not from illusion, but from truth. Pause. And then, one day, you look back at what you once struggled to release, and you see it differently, not as something you lost, but as something that was never meant to stay, something that taught you what misalignment feels like, something that showed you what happens when you ignore yourself, something that prepared you to finally choose differently. Letting go didn't take something away from you. It gave you back something you had been losing, yourself. And once you return to yourself, you realize something powerful. Nothing that requires you to lose yourself is worth holding on to, and nothing that is truly meant for you will ever ask you to. The moment you choose yourself, your power returns completely. There is a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when something inside you finally shifts. It doesn't come with noise. It doesn't come with applause. It doesn't even look dramatic from the outside. But inside, everything changes. Pause. It's the moment you stop asking, "Why aren't they choosing me?" And you begin asking, "Why am I not choosing myself?" That question alone starts to break a pattern you have lived in for so long, because for the first time, your attention turns inward, not toward fixing others, not toward holding things together, not toward chasing what keeps slipping away, but toward yourself. And in that shift, something you lost begins to return. Your power. Pause. Not the kind of power that controls people, not the kind that forces outcomes, but the kind that anchors you within yourself, the kind that doesn't shake when someone leaves, the kind that doesn't collapse when things don't go your way, the kind that doesn't beg to be seen, heard, or chosen, because it already knows you are enough. But before this moment, you were operating from a different place, a place of seeking, a place of proving, a place of constantly trying to be enough for someone else. You gave more, hoping it would make them stay. You explained more, hoping they would understand. You tried harder, hoping they would finally see your value. But no matter how much you did, it never felt stable, because your sense of worth was tied to something outside of you. Pause. And anything outside of you can be taken away. That's why you felt anxious. That's why you felt uncertain. That's why you kept overthinking every small change, every small distance, every small silence, because your power was not yours. It was placed in their hands. And the moment you choose yourself, you take it back, fully, not partially, not temporarily, completely. Pause. You stop chasing people who are unclear about you. You stop investing energy where it is not returned. You stop explaining your worth to those who cannot recognize it. And something inside you becomes still, not empty, not disconnected, but grounded. You begin to move differently. You speak with clarity instead of hesitation. You decide with confidence instead of fear. You walk away without guilt instead of overthinking, because now your actions are no longer driven by fear of loss. They are driven by self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of real power. Pause. You no longer need constant reassurance. You no longer depend on someone else's attention to feel valuable. You no longer feel the need to hold on to something just because it once mattered, because you understand something deeply now. If something is truly aligned with you, it will meet you where you stand. And if it doesn't, you are no longer willing to lower yourself just to keep it. This is where your power becomes unshakable, because it is no longer dependent on outcomes. It doesn't matter who stays. It doesn't matter who leaves. It doesn't matter how things unfold. You remain centered. Pause. And from that place, your entire life begins to shift. You attract differently because you are no longer seeking validation. You respond differently because you are no longer reacting from fear. You choose differently because you are no longer ignoring your truth. And slowly, everything around you reorganizes. Not because you forced it, but because you changed, because you finally stopped giving your power away in exchange for temporary connection and started holding it as your foundation. Pause. This is what most people never reach, because choosing yourself means letting go of the need to be chosen by everyone else. It means accepting that some people will not understand you. It means accepting that some connections will fall away. It means standing in your truth, even when it feels uncomfortable. But in that discomfort, you find something far greater: freedom, clarity, peace, and a deep, quiet confidence that no external situation can take away from you. Because now, your power is not something you are searching for. It is something you have reclaimed. And once you reclaim it, you never have to beg for your place in anyone's life again. You simply stand as someone who knows their worth. And from that place, everything changes. Life stops fighting you when you stop forcing what isn't meant. There is a kind of exhaustion that sleep cannot fix, a heaviness that stays with you, no matter how much you rest. It comes from one place: resistance. Pause. From trying to make something work that keeps showing you it doesn't. From holding on to people who feel distant and calling it connection. From pushing through situations that drain you and calling it commitment. From ignoring the quiet discomfort inside you and calling it patience. And slowly, you begin to feel like life itself is working against you. Nothing flows, nothing settles, nothing feels natural. Everything feels like effort. Pause. But life is not fighting you. You are fighting reality. You are trying to force something that was never aligned to begin with. And the more you force it, the heavier it becomes. You overthink more. You chase more. You give more, hoping it will finally become enough. But it never is, because alignment cannot be created through effort. It can only be recognized. Pause. There is a difference between effort and force. Effort feels intentional. It feels grounded. It feels like moving forward with clarity. Force feels tense. It feels desperate. It feels like holding something together that is constantly falling apart. And most people live in force. They try to fix what is broken. They try to convince what is uncertain. They try to control what is not in their hands. And in doing so, they lose their connection with themselves. Because when you are constantly forcing, you are constantly ignoring. Ignoring the signs. Ignoring the patterns. Ignoring the truth that keeps repeating itself in different ways. Pause. The truth does not shout. It shows up quietly, in how something feels, in how someone behaves consistently, in the tension that never fully leaves, no matter how much you try to ignore it. And deep down, you always know. You know when something feels right. You know when something feels off. You know when you are holding on to something that no longer fits your life. But knowing is not the hard part. Letting go of control is, because control creates an illusion. The illusion that if you try harder, if you give more, if you stay longer, things will change. Pause. But what is not meant for you does not become right just because you refuse to let it go. It only becomes heavier, more confusing, more draining, more distant from who you truly are. And this is where everything shifts. The moment you stop forcing, not because you gave up, but because you finally chose clarity over attachment. You stop chasing answers from people who create confusion. You stop holding on to situations that never give you peace. You stop investing energy where there is no alignment. And something unexpected happens. Life becomes quiet. Pause. not empty, but clear. The tension begins to fade. The overthinking begins to slow. The constant need to control begins to release. Because now, you are no longer working against yourself. You are moving with what feels right, instead of against it. And in that space, things begin to flow, not because everything becomes perfect, but because you are no longer resisting what is true. You begin to notice the right conversations feel easy, the right people feel natural, the right opportunities don't require you to lose yourself to keep them. There is no constant confusion, no endless questioning, no need to force understanding. There is clarity, pause, and clarity is the foundation of peace. Because when something is aligned, it doesn't feel like a battle. It feels like movement. It feels like progress. It feels like something unfolding without you having to push it every step of the way. And this is what most people miss. They believe struggle is necessary for everything, that if something is hard, it must be meaningful. But there is a difference between growth that challenges you and attachment that exhausts you. One expands you, the other drains you, and choosing yourself means knowing the difference. Pause. When you stop forcing what isn't meant, you don't lose direction, you gain it. You begin to trust your intuition again. You begin to recognize what feels right without needing external validation. You begin to move through life with less resistance and more awareness. And slowly, everything that once felt stuck begins to shift. Not because you made it happen, but because you finally allowed it to. Because you stopped holding on to what was blocking your path. Because you stopped fighting reality and started accepting it. Pause. And in that acceptance, there is freedom. Freedom from overthinking. Freedom from constant emotional tension. Freedom from trying to control outcomes that were never yours to control. You begin to realize life was never meant to feel like something you are constantly struggling against. It was meant to feel like something you move through with awareness, with clarity, with alignment. And when you reach that place, you no longer feel like life is fighting you, because you are no longer fighting yourself. You are finally on your own side. And from there, everything begins to fall into place, naturally. Choosing yourself daily is the only way everything falls into place. There is a quiet misunderstanding that keeps people stuck for years. They believe choosing themselves is a single moment, one decision, one turning point, where everything suddenly changes. But that is not how transformation works. Pause. Choosing yourself is not one moment of strength. It is a daily return to the truth you already know, because the patterns you've lived were not created in one day. They were built over time, through repetition, through habit, through countless small decisions where you placed yourself second. And in the same way, you don't reclaim yourself in one step. You return in many. Pause. It happens in the quiet moments that no one else sees. The moment you choose to speak honestly, instead of saying what feels easier. The moment you choose to rest, instead of overextending yourself to meet expectations. The moment you choose to walk away, instead of staying where your peace is disturbed. These moments seem small, but they are everything, because your life is not shaped by one big decision. It is shaped by what you repeatedly allow. Pause. Every day, life will present you with choices. Some will feel familiar, some will feel uncomfortable. The familiar ones will pull you back into old patterns. Patterns where you overgive, where you overthink, where you ignore what you feel just to maintain what you have. And the uncomfortable ones will ask you to choose differently, to set a boundary, to say no, to stand alone. Instead of settling for what feels wrong, and that is where the real work begins. Pause. Because choosing yourself does not always feel easy. Some days it will feel lonely. You will question your decisions. You will wonder if you made the right choice. You will feel the absence of what you let go of, because your mind is used to what is familiar, even if it wasn't healthy, even if it wasn't aligned, even if it slowly took you away from yourself. But growth is not about comfort. It is about truth. And truth often asks you to step away from what once felt safe. Pause. There will be days when you feel strong, clear, grounded, certain about who you are and what you deserve. And there will be days when old thoughts return, when doubt creeps in, when the urge to go back feels strong. And in those moments, choosing yourself becomes even more important. Not perfectly, not forcefully, but intentionally. You remind yourself why you started. You remember how it felt to constantly abandon yourself. You remember the exhaustion, the confusion, the quiet emptiness that followed you everywhere. And you make a decision not to go back. Pause. This is what builds something deeper within you, a quiet confidence. Not loud, not dependent on others, but steady. The kind of confidence that comes from knowing you will not leave yourself, no matter what happens. And over time, that confidence becomes your foundation. You no longer need constant reassurance. You no longer depend on others to feel stable. You no longer fear being alone, because you are finally with yourself. Pause. And something beautiful begins to happen. Your life starts to reflect this inner shift. You attract people who respect your boundaries. You create space for experiences that align with your values. You feel a sense of peace that doesn't depend on everything being perfect, because you are no longer building your life around avoiding discomfort. You are building it around truth. And truth has a different energy. It is calm. It is clear. It does not require constant effort to maintain. Pause. Everything begins to fall into place, not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you are no longer creating resistance within yourself. You are no longer saying yes when you mean no. You are no longer staying where you feel misaligned. You are no longer chasing what does not choose you. You are aligned, and alignment changes everything. Pause. You stop feeling scattered. You stop feeling pulled in different directions. You stop feeling like you are constantly trying to fix your life, because your life is no longer built on confusion. It is built on clarity, and clarity creates peace. This is why choosing yourself daily is the only way everything falls into place. Not because it guarantees perfection, but because it guarantees alignment. And when you are aligned, what is meant for you finds you without force. What is not meant for you naturally fades away, and you remain centered, grounded, whole. Pause. So don't wait for one perfect moment to choose yourself. Don't wait until everything feels certain. Choose yourself today, in one small decision, in one honest moment, in one quiet act of self-respect, and then do it again tomorrow, and again the day after that. Because in those small, consistent choices, you are not just changing your life, you are returning to who you were always meant to be. And from that place, everything no longer feels forced. Everything no longer feels uncertain. Everything begins to feel right. At the end of everything, after all the overthinking, after all the chasing, after all the times you tried to hold things together, there is one truth that remains. Pause. Nothing in your life will truly align until you align with yourself. You can keep trying to fix people. You can keep trying to force outcomes. You can keep trying to hold on to what feels like it's slipping away. But if you are not choosing yourself, you will keep losing yourself again and again. and again. Pause. And one day, you will look back, not at what you lost, but at how much of yourself you gave away just to feel chosen, just to feel enough, just to feel like you belonged somewhere. But here is the truth. You were never meant to earn your place by abandoning yourself. You were never meant to stay where your presence was not valued. You were never meant to shrink just to be accepted. Pause. You were meant to stand in your truth, to stand in your worth, to stand in a life that reflects who you are, not who you are trying to be for others. And the moment you truly understand this, everything changes. Not loudly, not instantly, but deeply. You stop begging for clarity and start walking in it. You stop chasing connection and start becoming it. You stop fearing loss and start trusting alignment. Pause. Because now, you are no longer looking for someone to choose you. You have already done that for yourself. And when you reach that place, you don't just feel stronger, you feel free. Free from overthinking, free from constant doubt, free from the need to prove your worth to anyone, because your worth is no longer a question. It is a decision. Pause. So if there is one thing to take with you from everything you've heard, let it be this. Choose yourself. Not when it's easy, not when it's convenient, but especially when it's hard, because every time you choose yourself, you come back to life. And every time you come back to yourself, life begins to meet you with the same clarity, the same respect, the same truth that you finally gave yourself. Pause. This is where everything shifts. This is where everything aligns. This is where everything finally begins to fall into place.